All right, we're gonna start recording. I'm gonna mute you guys for now. All right, everyone, so thank you for joining us today. We're gonna be talking about looping pedals and how they work and what they do. And we can use looping pedals for all different types of instruments and voices, but today we'll be looking at how to use them with guitar. And I'm gonna change my camera view here to my pedal board, where I have my looper right down here in the corner. What we're going to start with is just a quick demonstration of how this kind of looper pedal works and what you can do with it. So sit back, relax, enjoy the next 90 or so seconds, and then I will explain everything that I am doing. Don't you worry if I disappear. I told her I'm not really looking for another mistake. Called an old friend thinking that the trouble will wait, but then I jumped right in. A week later returned. I reckon she was all looking for a lover to burn. I gave her my time for 2 or 3 nights, and I put it on pause till the moment was right. Went away for months until I passed across again. She told me I was never looking for a friend. Swing my room around 10. Did you bring the lemon and a bottle of gin? She'd still late, if you wanted me, then you should have just said. She's singing undertone with my love. That heart is so cold, all over my arm. I don't wanna know that, babe. Okay, so let's talk about everything that's going on there. So I'm starting. This is a song by Ed Sheeran called "Don't." And I'm using Ed Sheeran as an example because on his recordings, when you listen, you're going to hear a whole band. When you go and see him live, it's just him, his acoustic guitar, and a looping pedal. And he's able to create this full band sound with just this little pedal here. Okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to erase everything that I just did, and then we're going to break it down step by step. Okay? So my first part that I'm playing is kind of almost like a little bass line. He's going. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down on the pedal. So let me show you how to do that. Let me switch camera views here. Okay, so on our looping pedal, we have, and this is a 2-pedal looper. Later on in the class, we're going to talk about just a kind of a 1-pedal or 1-button looper. But starting with this here, my left side of the pedal is my record function. As soon as I hit that, you're going to see that red light that just turned on right there. That means that anything that I'm going to play is now going to be recorded. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit stop, because essentially I was just recording silence right there. So I'm going to kind of get my groove going. And then I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so now I've punched that in. I'm going to stop for that for a second. And I started my loop right on beat 1, and I ended my loop right on beat 1. And now I've got this nice loop in there that's just going to keep playing for me. And so that by itself, you know, it's okay. Not the most exciting thing, but it works. But then I can start to add other layers on top. Maybe something like this. I could go. Okay, now, if I want want to loop that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down to my pedal, and I'm going to hit that record button again. You're going to notice the light's going to turn red, and now anything I play is going to be added. Okay, so now we can hear that part's on there too. Now because, and I'll explain something real quick here before I keep going, we have kind of three main functions on a loop pedal. We have record, play, and overdub. Okay, record mode means that whatever you're playing is being recorded, right? So if I kept playing, it's going to keep recording, and it could just be a mess of layers of guitars if I get too many layers going on. So notice I only have two recordings that I've done so far. I did my first bass line, and then I added this other kind of just like texture part on top. Okay, now I've got those two loops going. What I can do is if I just want to go into play mode, I could just keep those two loops as is, and I can play lead parts on top of it, like this. That's all great. Or if I want to add maybe a drum beat to it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit play, and I have to tap it one more time to get into record mode. Now I'm in record mode, and I'm going to play a drum beat with it. So here's my kick drum, here's my snare drum, and something like this. Now we can hear that's in the background, that's looping. I go back to my pedal, and at this point, I'm going to want to turn off the record feature and just be able to play over it. So you'll see that the red light right here turned off, and now I'm just in play mode. And now in play mode, I can just sit here and I can either play chords on top of it, I can stop it. So for this particular song, I'll use that loop in the choruses, and then in the verses, I'm not going to use the loop. I'm just going to play the bass line and I'd sing with it. Okay, so I might get something like this. In the verses, I'd have da 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 da, and then now here comes the loop now. Da da. So on and so forth, going back and forth between that verse section and that chorus section. Okay, so now you're going, well, that's great, but I can't play any of those parts you just played, and I can't sing, and so how does any of this apply to me and my beginner guitar playing or intermediate guitar playing level? All right, so that's kind of like, and this has taken me a long time to get my loop playing up to that level. Think of it as almost learning another instrument. The hardest part about it is timing, is being able to punch in the pedal right in on beat one and then coming out right on beat one. So when you first start looping, your loops might sound something like this. This is how my first couple loops sounded. I might go like... and I'm going to have this big awkward pause here at the end of my loop. Okay, there it starts again, right? And there's no groove to it. And can everyone kind of hear that awkward pause at the end there? Okay, so let's do something that I know we could all play. We're just going to take two chords. We'd take G and C add 9. Okay? And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's it. Just two chords. And our goal is to be able to get those two chords to loop, hopefully with a nice kind of smooth sound to it. So I'm going to go down to my pedal, and I'm going to start here with the record. But a good tip is start playing your guitar first. Don't just hit record, because if I hit record and then I play, well, now I've got about a second of silence that I just recorded that's going to be on my loop. So we don't want that. So I'm going to stop it and clear it. I'll teach you how to do that in a minute. I'm going to start my G chord, and I'm going to play, and I'm going to count myself in, and I'm going to hit record on beat 1. So here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I switch to C. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, I punched in on 1, punched out on 1. And now I've got this nice smooth loop that's in time. Right? It almost sounds like there's someone back there playing the guitar. Okay, now on top of that, that could be the only thing that I loop. And maybe I just want to practice playing lead guitar. Practice my lead, so on and so forth. You can also do this with, if you plugged a microphone into your pedal, you can record vocals and practice harmonies. So I could record, you know, Sweet Home Alabama, and then I could sing a third above that and a third above that, and that would be if you're practicing singing. Now let's talk about a couple other things that the pedal, features of what the pedal can do and how to operate them. So right now I still have that loop stored, and we can kind of see this flashing green light here on the pedal. That's telling me that something is there that I've already recorded, and I can just hit play and it'll play back for me. So what I'm going to do is I want to clear that. So to clear it, I press on stop, and I also press record at the same time, and you see that clear came up on the screen. And now I could go back and I could record something different. Another thing that I like to do a lot when I'm doing loops is I'll add like a drum beat to it. So this works on any guitar. If you open up your hand and play your strings like this, it's going to give like a kick drum sound. Okay, then when you take your fingers and kind of scrape across the strings, it gives like a snare drum sound. We've got kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. And if I add that over my chords, it's going to start to sound more like a full band. So let's go back and I'll add in my chords again. I'll count myself in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so I've got my loop. I'm going to hit record again to go into overdub mode, which means now that anything that I'm going to play is going to be recorded. I'll show you guys here the drum beat. So now my drum beat might go something like this. I'll go 1, 2, ready, play. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. Now we're going to hear that part come back over top of it. Just a nice little backbeat. Now what I'd want to do is, since I'm still in record mode, I'm going to want to tap that pedal again, and now anything that I play will not be recorded. So I could just have fun and play lead on top of this, and I don't have to worry about it being recorded. Alright, so I'm going to pause for a second, and I've got a couple more things to talk about, but I'm going to open it up for questions real quick, just to make sure that I'm not leaving anybody totally in the dust here. You guys are unmuted, or if you're not, you can unmute yourselves. Any questions so far yet?
Yeah. Can you do the drum beat on electric guitar?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Sometimes on the electric guitar, depending on the setting that you have on your amp, the bass drum sound isn't quite as full. On acoustic guitars, we get a fuller bass drum sound because we have a hollow body, right? And there's just more bass response with acoustic guitars than there are with electric guitars.
Okay.
Cool.
How many tracks can you load on there?
Infinite.
Infinite?
Mm-hmm. Now what happens though is the more tracks you start stacking on top of each other, the sound quality degrades just a little bit. And think of whatever that initial track was. If I've got 15 tracks stacked, you're not really going to be able to hear track 1 anymore. Progressively, each track that you add kind of buries the lower ones further down, so you can't hear them quite as well.
Okay.
That's a good question. I'll show you something like that in a second. Sarah and Mary, you guys doing okay over there? Any questions?
We're all
Cool.
good. We're good.
All right, so let's talk about what Jeff just said. How many tracks could we add? So let's just do a quick example of something that could have a lot of different tracks. So I'm going to clear, and I'm going to go back here, and I'll record G and C again. So I'll count myself in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that first track is played. Now I'm going to go into record mode here, and I'm going to change the camera so you can see what I'm playing. And let's say that I play a short piece that goes like this. If I go... Ooh, a little longer. Okay, so there's my first loop. So now I essentially have 2 loops. I have my chords, and then I had that first lead thing. Now I could harmonize that lead thing and do something like this. I've got 3 tracks. I could add a 4th track. I could add a 5th track. Okay, that's 6. I could go 7. Alright, you can kind of get the point where I could just keep adding and layering and layering and layering. And, you know, once you get 6 or 7 tracks, it's almost too much, right? But you could do it. Alright, so let's talk about a different pedal here, or a different loop pedal. This particular pedal that I'm using is a Boss RC30. It's a great pedal. Any of the Boss loop pedals are awesome. This particular pedal is about $300, so it's not the most affordable pedal on the market, but it does a pretty cool job. So let's check out this other pedal here, which is, I think, probably the most affordable loop pedal, and it's called the Ditto. Okay, and this one here is about $115, $120, and it is super simple. Notice there is 1 knob and 1 button. Okay, so let's plug our guitar in here. It may pop. Okay, so here, same features. Try to bring it over here so you can see it. Okay, so same features as the Boss. They just now they've assigned different patterns of foot presses that do different things. So if I press once, you're going to see that the light has turned red, which means it's in record mode. As soon as I press it again, it's now going to play whatever I just recorded. As soon as I press it again, it's now back into red, meaning it's going to be adding whatever I want to the loop. Press it again, back to green. Now to get it to stop, this is where it's tricky. It's a double tap, and that stops it. Then to clear it, I have to press it and hold, and then it clears. This pedal is great for just practicing at home. It's not so great if you're trying to use it live. It's really hard to double tap in the middle of a song. If you're trying to keep tempo, it's just extremely hard to do a double tap. But let me show you how it works. Let's take the same loop. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then I'll tap out. Okay, so that's recording back. Oops, here. This knob here is our loop volume. So if I want to turn the loop up louder, I'm just going to make it loud as I want it to be. Or if it's too loud in comparison to what I'm playing, I would turn it down. I'm going to leave it up around halfway. And then again, I could add something on top of it. So I'm going to hit the button. Now it's in record mode. And let's say I'll try the drum beat again. So if I'll go... Okay, so now that drum beat's going. Again, if I want to stop, I have to double tap. Again, really hard to double tap while you're singing and playing at the same time. And then to actually clear it and start over, I have to press it down. But you're going to hear that the track is going to play for a couple seconds before it gets erased. Which again is kind of lame if you're up on stage performing for people and you're trying to change in the middle of a song and all of a sudden, you know, you've got this loop that just randomly blasts through the speakers for 2 seconds. But at home, and just to start practicing with looping, it is definitely the most affordable and easiest pedal to get into. So if anyone's interested in learning how to loop and just experiment with it, this is definitely the pedal to get. And then once you feel like you're a little bit more comfortable with it, you can upgrade into something like this. Boss also has a 1 pedal unit instead of the dual pedal. It's a little bit more affordable, and it's kind of the in-between step between the Ditto and the RC30. All right, so I'm opening it back up for questions here before I talk about anything else. Any questions on that stuff?
Can you store loops, Nick, for certain songs?
Yes. Great question. So the Ditto, no. The Boss, yes. I'll show you how to do that. So let's say...
That would help with performances.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. Like, you could pre-record a bunch of loops and then just have them stored on your pedal and just engage them live in a show, right? That works. You just have to make sure that you're playing to a metronome so that you're going to be playing at the same tempo that you recorded your loop. Most people don't play to a metronome live, so that's why it's better just to make your loop live so that the loop is going to be at the same tempo as what you're playing. Or if you pre-record your loops, start your loop first and then record to it, or then play to it. That way you've got essentially a set tempo, and then you can play along to it. Don't start a song live at one tempo and then try to turn on your loop, and there's a good chance your loop is going to be at a different tempo than what you already started playing, and then train wreck. I've done that several times. So to talk about how to store loops, again, the Ditto, it cannot store. Essentially it stores 1, right? So whatever I did there in the moment, it stores it on the pedal, but as soon as I want to go to something else, I have to erase it. Over here with the Boss, you're going to see it's got a little LCD screen here, and we can flip through these different numbers. So I could record essentially anything here on channel 1 or memory bank 1, store it, and I'll show you. So if I go, helps if, hang on, I forgot that I have to plug my guitar back into that pedal. Take 2. Okay, so I've got that. Alright, so there's my loop. I can hit this button that says write, and it's saying, are you sure that you want to save that? And I say yes, and now that loop is saved on channel 1, and I can go to channel 2 and do a different loop. And then if I wanted to come back to that first loop later, I just come back here to channel 1, and there's my loop, ready to go. Cool. Any other questions so far? They're a lot of fun. They take a little bit of practice, like anything does. Of being able, just working on your timing. Like I said, the hardest thing is just being able to hit the pedal right on beat 1 and then get out also right on beat 1. Okay? since we've got a couple minutes left here, I will show you what some of these other pedals on my board do. So I've got my looper pedal, and then this white pedal up here in the corner, all this does is just tune my guitar. It's a tuner pedal. It's the least exciting pedal, but probably one of the most important pedals on the board, because you got to be able to tune. And it also, when I click it, it will mute my signal so that I can tune in silence and so that no one hears me tune. Now this brown pedal here is a super octave pedal. I use this to get bass guitar tones. So if I click this on and I play, let's say, just single notes on my guitar. Right, so now it's going to sound like a bass guitar. So where that comes in really handy is, let's say I go back and I record, same thing. Let's go just a G and C chord again. I just made it a little quicker, quick G and C. And if I want to add my bass part, I'm going to click my bass sound. I'll go. So now it just kind of fills it out. And I've got a bass line to that. Then what I would do is I would turn that pedal off and I would add in my drum beat. So now that's looping. Now I've got my rhythm guitar, I've got a bass line, and I've got a drum beat that's going on. At that point, what I would do is I'm going to turn it off of record mode and just go into play mode. Because now I'm just going to have fun and I'm going to solo on top of it. Okay, so now that I'm soloing, I've got a couple other pedals over here that can make my solo sound a little bit sweeter. So this big pedal here is a delay pedal. So if I turn this on, and then this is what's called a tap tempo. So whatever tempo I'm playing at, I'm just going to tap in so that my delays are in time. You can hear kind of that echo. If I turn it off, turn it on, and I have different delay settings that I could use. And that's going to sound cool over my chords. And then lastly, what I have is this pedal here is a boost pedal. So once I build up a bunch of layers of loops and I start playing lead on top of it, and I realize that my lead guitar isn't really cutting through, what I need to do is I would turn on my boost pedal, and you'll see that light goes on there. It's kind of blown out by my light, but what that does is now it just boosts my level. So if I don't play with it on, it's really just making it louder so that my loop can cut through, or that my lead can cut through the loop. And lastly, this pedal up here, this is a vocal harmonizer pedal that I would plug a microphone into. I can tell it, hey, I'm in the key of G, and I want it to add a third above. So, and then I'll just toggle that harmony on or off with my foot. Typically I'll bring in the harmonies like in the chorus. I didn't plug my microphone in today because I wasn't even sure we'd get that far, but that could be a whole nother class where you can use a harmony vocal pedal. Plug in a microphone. If I'm singing, hey, engage the harmony, you'll still hear my voice plus a harmony above it, which is really nice in choruses. I do a lot of solo acoustic gigs, and so by using a harmonized pedal with my voice and a looper pedal, I'm able to kind of fill out my sound and make it sound fuller than just a guy and his acoustic guitar sitting there playing for 3 hours. Okay. That's about all I've got for you guys today. Any questions before we wrap up? Oh, let me hang on.
I may have missed this, Nick. You just had to plug that guitar into one thing, and you could access all your pedals that way?
Yes. Yes
That's
and
what it
no.
looked like.
So I've got, so all my pedals are daisy chained together. So I've got my guitar my guitar's coming in here. Okay, so I've got a cable going from my guitar to my tuner pedal. And then I have what are called patch cables, which are the little tiny cables that run in between pedals. And it's all wired up nicely underneath this board, but I've got a cable that goes from my tuner to my bass pedal, and then from my bass pedal it goes over here to my delay, and then there's a cable that goes from my delay over here to my looper pedal. And then coming out of the looper pedal, I have this guitar cable that would go to my amp or PA system. And then obviously pedals need power. So I've got another little daisy chain thing where I've got all the pedals are looped together, and then it goes out just to one jack, and that converts it from DC to AC, and then that plugs into the wall. It's called a one-spot power adapter. Cool. Any other questions? And I will send you guys some info on specific pedals. This is a pedal here that I was using. It's a Boss RC30. It's a loop pedal. This is the other pedal that I talked about, which is a TC Electronic Ditto looper. Like I said, the Ditto is a great pedal to start with, or any loop pedal that you can get. They all pretty much do the same thing. Some of them have different features. Some of them are easier to use in a live situation versus just a practice situation. But they're a lot of fun. Practice lead playing on top of your rhythm, practice your timing, etc. Cool. All right, we will wrap up with that unless there's any last minute questions. All right, guys.